Of Kangen Water. Yeah, I work in the emergency department. I work in A&E. I've been doing that for quite a few years, so I'm actually an A&E physician. Today I actually graduated from a course in naturopathy and nutrition. I just attended the graduation today, so I've been doing that for 2 years. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks. Yeah, we all have to dress up and great. Yeah, so I took an interest in naturopathy as well as nutrition, and I've been doing that for something I was interested in a few years ago. Basically, what happened is that the way I got involved with Kangen Water is that I met Mark Tan, who you probably heard about, whom Chung mentioned his mum about the water. Where's him? He's a doctor in emergency medicine as well. And we both met each other in Croydon, and we both share a very, very common interest. One of the things that we both share was this ideology that medicine is not being practiced the way we would hope or would like. One of the things that we found frustrating was that in the emergency department you have a lot of patients who come in who are on many drugs. They'll be on an anti-diabetic pill, anti-blood pressure pill, anti-cholesterol pill, proton pump inhibitor, painkillers. The list goes on. I don't know if you have a show of hands of people who know people who are actually on more than one medication. Does anyone know? Anybody who's on? Yeah. So you know people who are on multiple medications. So this is something that myself and Mark thought was, it's a bit unfortunate, because I think the basic premise is that we're losing the battle against chronic medicine. Acute things, I think we've come a long way because we have surgery. With chronic medicine, however, we rely on medications. Now, does anybody know who the father of medicine is? Hippocrates, right. And what did Hippocrates used to say? He used to say, let thy food be thy medicine, let thy medicine be thy food. Right? As a medical profession, we've come a long way from that. I would say the compass heading has changed. We rely on medications which are synthetically made in a laboratory, which get results. And the other thing that medicine has suffered from is two main things. One is politics, the other thing is economics. Law. When you add all of those things into the mix, it changes the heading, it changes the compass heading of medicine. And this is one of the reasons why we end up relying on medications. Now, I'm not saying medications is a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that I think we could do better. I mean, here we have, at our disposal, we have fruits, vegetables, and all of these kind of things, which essentially don't produce as many side effects as one would have if they were on a medication. And most people know, when you look at medications, they are essentially extracted from fruit, vegetables, and everything else. And obviously they found the chemical symbols or the chemical equations to represent those things. And they put in a drug and they give it to you, and then obviously they have to go through drug trials and everything else. I don't know if anybody in here has ever heard of functional medicine. Has anybody come across that? Functional medicine? So functional medicine now is something which was created in Washington State. It's in the United States. And it's spreading slowly. And what it is, it's a very sort of unique way of looking at patients in terms of their illnesses. Did anybody watch a show last year called Doctor in the House? So there's a guy there called Dr. Rangan Chatterjee who went into people's houses, and he was able to look at people, and the first place he went to was their pantry. And he went straight into the pantry and he opened it and he looked inside there and he saw all the things which he thought contributed to people's illnesses. And as a matter of fact, I've met Rangan because I met him about 3 weeks ago at the Royal Society of Medicine. We had our very first international functional medicine forum about 3 weeks ago. And we both share exactly the same views as well. And I was quite surprised at how many people actually do have that view. There's a lot of nutritional therapists there, very few doctors, but at least the word is getting out there. And people are realizing now that a lot of the chronic illnesses are due to the food that we eat. The law says that the only cure for a disease is a what?
A drug.
That's law. That's what the law says. Now, can anybody see what implications that has? It centers around three words: the word drug, the word disease, and the word only cure. What that means is that now that you've made it law, who are the people that decide? Well, who are the people that produce this? Pharmaceutical companies, right?
Yeah.
Who are the people that decide what this is? Me. That's my job. An only cure is just thrown out there. And you thought Trump world was bad. This is it. This was the crux of it. This is what started it. Because now, what this implication means is that I can define someone by disease. I go and ring up the pharmaceutical company. They go and make a drug. And now, that drug will be treated or will be used to target these people with these diseases, and that will be called the only cure. Now, anybody heard of Granny Smith?
With the apple.
Right.
Right?
They used to say that an apple a day keeps the...
The doctor away.
Right. And what does apples have in them?
Pectin.
What else does it have in it? What else does it have in it? What else does it have in it? Well, okay, subtract the pesticides and assume that it's one of these organic apples which has been grown and been observed, and there you have this pure apple. What has it got in it?
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C, antioxidants, right. It's also got salicylates. Salicylates. One apple, or 3 apples, is equivalent to 1 aspirin. So it has all of these nutritions. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that it also has things you've never heard of. Okay? And does an apple cause side effects? Well, we'll come back to that, because it can do, but we don't call it side effects. We call it allergy. Right? Now, and the reason why you get an allergy is probably because of the pesticides that's in it. But essentially, what I'm trying to get at is that the apple, however, is not something that's measurable, because it's got so many things in it which we don't know. Now, Granny Smith, poor Granny Smith, would turn around and say apple keeps the doctor away, very good for cardiovascular disease. But you know what they can do at Granny Smith? They can lock her up. They can put her in prison, because what is she doing? She's selling an illegal drug. Because the apple does not cure disease, because it's not a drug. Because the only thing that can cure disease, only cure for disease, is a drug. So that is the kind of world we are living in. What has this all got to do with Kangen Water, I hear you say? Right? Well, I got involved in Kangen Water about 3 years ago. And one of the things that I did was I looked into it, I did a lot of research into it. But it was something that when I first saw it, Chung will tell you, Chung was the person who introduced me. What did I do the very first day you told me about it? I went and bought 3 machines.
Yeah.
3.
And the reason why I bought 3 machines is because it confirmed something I already knew. I already knew that there was something wrong with the water. And when I saw that demo, I suddenly realized that, you know what, this has got all of the things. I started to learn water. You see, one of the things we do is you take water for granted. Most of us, the only relationship we have as children when we're growing up, the only relationship we have with water is what comes out of the tap. And that pH is 7. Because when you test it, it comes out green or slightly blue. Yeah? Now, who in their right mind decided that the pH of water that you drink should be 7? And there was a story, I'll tell you, it was in central London. There was a few people getting sick. And what had happened was a guy came along and he found number 16 was getting sick, 3 people at number 22 were getting sick, 4 people at number 43 were getting sick. And what he did was he realized that they all had one thing in common. They all used to go to the middle of the street, and in the middle of the street there used to be a well. And they all used to collect their water from there. So what he did was he went and took this sample of water, looked it under the microscope, and what did he see inside? He saw bacteria. And this was what was causing the problem, cholera and all of these kind of things. So he decided to add a small ingredient to the water to help to kill the bugs. And do we know what that's called? Chlorine. Yes? So you add chlorine to the mix, and what it does, it kills all the bugs. But has anybody ever asked a question, what does it do to you when you drink the chlorine? It kills the bugs, all right, but it also causes, it's also one of the sources of free radicals. And free radicals cause damage. And what kind of damage are we talking about? The kind of damage that leads to aging, oxidation. And as you saw, the picture of the apple, what happens? Oxidizes, gets older, aging, and you get things like vessels becoming hardened, blood pressures going up. All sound familiar? All the sources of chronic illness. You see, in order to try and win the battle against chronic illness, you have to try and find out the progression. How? Why is it going that way? And if you understand that, it all comes back down to the basics, looking at nutrition and all of these things, what we do to our bodies, why we're exposing ourselves to these things, because that is what is leading to illness. So, before I go on about water, one of the things I'll say is that as a medical doctor, I cannot make any medical claims about what this water can do. Not allowed to do it. Simply not allowed. We have to go down to the basics. And what I mean by that is you've got to go down to the cellular and molecular level. If you go down to the cellular and molecular level, then you can build from that. Because nobody can disagree with the cellular and molecular level, because it's already been established. It's already things that have been, you know, the argument has been exhausted. I don't want to use the word proof, because proof is something which, again, is subjective, but you're getting closer to what we think is the right, universally accepted school of thought. So what do we have at our disposal? We have the periodic table. Anybody familiar with the periodic table?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mendeleev's table.
So you all know about the chemistry, you all know about the hydrogen. Yeah, so you've got the periodic table. Yeah, you've got period, you've got the group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hydrogen, helium. Then you've got lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine. Now these group 7s, they are the sources of free radicals. Yeah, group 7. They're the usual suspects of free radicals. Why did I bring up free radicals? Because that is one of the things that Kangen water is good at neutralizing, free radicals. Because we know free radicals is a source of a lot of problems. It's a source of damage to vessels we talked about. We said it's damage to cells. It can also damage DNA. It can actually get right into the cell, because obviously you've got your cell. Inside the cell you've got the nucleus. Inside the nucleus you've got all your DNA, RNA, all of that nucleic acid material. And when a free radical damages that, it can change certain base pairs. It can change the way in which proteins are made. Because what does a cell do at the end of the day? What is the job of a cell? Yeah, you've got the cell membrane, you've got the nucleus, you've got all these wonderful things called mitochondria. This is not the side profile of an orange, by the way. This is what a cell looks like. Yeah? So inside the cell you've got the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse, which produces the energy currency of the body, which is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. But then the nucleus, you have all of these chromosomes which have all the DNA. But what does this cell do? What's the job of a cell? It actually produces products which get shipped out of the cell into the body. Proteins, energy, all of these things. So